Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Saturday Night Music Club. Coming at you from Jonathan's abode. You guys know Jonathan from past Saturday Night Music Club. He was gracious enough to host this one along with his wife, who made us some lovely vegan and gluten-free treats. Just a great host, a great time tonight. You can tell that Dream Pop Jesse is back from his bout with malaria. Healing up nicely. Longer hair, as you may notice. And then we also, you may notice a new face with us. We have Robert, so please welcome him to the music club. Round of applause, led by James. Thank you. So, as usual, we have a 2-record theme. The first theme, Paisely Underground. Bands from the Paisely Underground scene in LA of the mid-'80s, neo-psychedelic, folk rock, influenced by bands from the 60s. So you could bring a record of the Paisely Underground, a band that influenced the Paisely Underground, or a band that was influenced by the Paisely Underground scene. So we had a lot of different choices that you could bring. And our second record had to have been some rad colored vinyl. So I think overall it was a great night, lots of great music. And I'm going to have Jonathan start it off with his Paisely Underground record.
And so I brought an album from a band called the Alalas. They're out from California, and they have this cool 60s jangly guitar, psychedelic sound. Production has that old, production from the 60s, and I like it a lot. It's a great record.
Jesse, what'd you think?
Really cool. It definitely had a Birds vibe. I was actually just looking at it's got how it's folded on the back, kind of like old school.
Oh, like glued down?
Yeah.
Based on it.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Brent, what'd you think?
I just want the Netherlands copy of it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Not the U.S.
No.
Nothing else.
No, that's hipster.
Hipster.
Robert, what'd you think?
So my first impression, first or second track, gave me a vibe of like Iggy Pop fronting the Zombies, which is a total win, you know. The other thing is that there was a really cool reverb going on throughout the album, maybe old Echoplex or something. If there's any downside to this band, is that it really does sound like something from the 60s, and I don't hear a lot of new stuff, but I guess what's new about them is the way that they've kind of juxtaposed the different elements. So overall, it was a good listen.
That's a good point.
But pretty retro, yeah.
James, what'd you think of it?
I got excited because I thought it was The Laws, and then I didn't hear There She Goes, and then I got sad.
Yeah, so then once you did hear it, though, you still thought that at the end?
Yes, I was still sad.
Okay. Definitely, it sounds like it's from the 60s. It's very...
It's in Jonathan's wheelhouse.
It's one of those that you're like, seriously, like, is the date wrong on this one? And I agree with Robert. There's a point where, I mean, I definitely enjoyed it, but there's a point where it's so tribute to that it's almost locked in that specific thing that how do you break out of it and create something new. So I totally agree with what you're saying on that one. Jesse, what was your Paisely Underground? But thanks, Jonathan. I definitely enjoyed that record.
I chose Turn, Turn, Turn by the Birds. I'm very fond of this record. My mom used to play them a lot when I was really small, and I love their wardrobes. So in skinny jeans, the haircuts. A lot of people would think the Beatles, but I always liked
America's
their style.
Beatles.
America's Beatles.
And what did they have to do with the Paisely Underground theme?
Well, for me, it seems like they've influenced the majority of the bands that I listen to, and that's kind of why I chose. They just have that era.
Yeah. Brent.
Yeah, that's my favorite Birds record. So, actually, quizzed Brett Helm on who actually wrote Turn, Turn, Turn.
Yeah, and how did I do?
He aced it. Only one in the room besides me that knew what it was. So,
All right, Robert, Birds.
Buskers.
Everyone should
Well,
know a little louder.
okay,
Not
obviously it's a classic, a very warm sound. I love the electric 12-string. The interesting thing about this album is, we talk about it being the American Beatles, but this in turn actually influenced the Beatles. And so when you hear Beatles stuff that came after this, it was influenced by kind of the picking style that's on this album. Particularly like George Harrison really picked up a lot of stuff from this. And then also, they're doing, I think on this they do a couple of Bob Dylan songs, and actually he turned around and started performing his own songs with the Byrds arrangements. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, so, groundbreaking album in every sense of the word.
Very cool.
Yeah.
James.
I thought it was the Laws, and I got excited, and then I found out that there was no There She Goes, so I got sad again.
Typical James stuff. You guys know. They'll be edited out. I was happy when Jesse brought that over. I love that. When I hear Turn, the second app came on, and the electric 12-string is such a iconic part of the Bird sound, and I got excited when I heard it because it just made me think of taping it off of the radio when I was a kid and playing that because I love that song so much. It's just when you hear that opening note, it's just boom, you're there. It's great. Totally enjoyed it. Brent, you're up.
Oh. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I brought Hope Sandoval, Bavarian Fruit Bread. Singer of Mazzy Star, solo afterwards, 2001 Rough Trade, UK Press.
Robert, start with you.
I mean, this is one of those albums where it's kind of impossible for it to be bad, just knowing the elements that are in it. I'd never heard this album before in any format. Incredibly warm, clean-sounding record. Beautiful vocals, great musicianship. I mean, it's fantastic.
James.
I was hoping for Mazzy Star, and then I saw that it was Hope Sandoval, and I got excited.
No one's laughing out there anymore. Okay, so Brent, when I found out Brent had this in his collection, which was probably over a year ago, I was super excited. So tonight was the night where this was tailor-made for this record to come out. I bought this on CD the day it came out. I've never seen the vinyl version, so it was a treat to hear it on vinyl. And one thing that I really noticed was how glorious her vocals sound. And on vinyl, they're even much more present up front, and it's just like perfection. The vocals, the sound of the acoustic guitar. It's a beautiful album, and I really wish that her second one, Through the Devil Softly, came out on vinyl as well, because that one's only available on CD. But I wish this would get like a special reissue because it's such a beautiful record. Hope Sandoval and the Warm Inventions was her band.
This was so good that James actually listened to it all the way through.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't talk.
He did.
That's how good this was.
Yeah.
And I already owned
Jonathan.
I liked it a lot. I especially liked this track called "Feeling of Gaze." Last track on the arrangement on this reminded me of like something like Lee Hazelwood would have done in the '60s. It's really atmospheric, and I enjoyed that track the most on it.
Nice.
Really stellar.
Nice, Jesse.
Had
you heard this album before? Did you have it?
I have. This album actually, Suzanne, the track, one of my favorite bands, So Sex You, covered it. Jesus Mary Chain.
The first song is a Jesus
First
and Mary
song,
Chain cover
yeah.
drop, yeah.
Great album. I love Hope Sandoval's voice. It's just such a warm sounding record. It definitely.
It's really perfection.
When it got put
It's-
on, yeah, there was silence in the room. There was a lot less chit chat.
There's not many singers made like
That side
that.
of the room.
Were you say something, Robert?
Well, how was it that you summed up her voice? I think that was...
Yeah. And I've always thought this since I first heard Mazzy Star, I think in 1990. It's always reminded me of, this is ridiculous, I've used this before, but it reminds me of Patsy Cline on heroin. That's the way I describe it too. Because it has that, Patsy Cline's vocals are so solid gold, but yet Hope Sandoval's voice has this undenying melancholy behind it, and just the delivery and the phrasing, and there's just this almost detachment in it that it takes it to a whole nother level, but it has that dominance of Patsy Cline at the same time, and that beauty. It's great. She's a phenomenal singer, and Brent, thank you for bringing that one up. That was definitely a treat. I think we're up to you, Robert, right?
Yeah, so here's an album that influenced the Paisley Underground, specifically the band The 3 O'Clock. This is an album by the Bee Gees called Odessa. It has a velvet cover, so that's very special. It's a double LP. And we listened to side B of this, but basically this was, people think of the Bee Gees, and a lot of people probably think of Saturday Night Fever. Some people might think of the some of their hits from the '60s. This was kind of like a middle period, so you hear little elements of like the band and various different roads that they're sort of wandering down. They're kind of trying to find their way, but it actually is a very strong album because of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good double album, so, and it was very influential with some of these later bands from California.
Absolutely. James.
I liked it.
Okay, cool. So, when I saw Robert when he walked through the door, and I got a glimpse of that red velvet, so I immediately knew what it was. So I said, "You gotta hide that right away, so because I want to like be surprised when it pops out again." Because I love Odessa. That is such an incredible album, 1969 Bee Gees, and like Robert was saying, a lot of people think of the disco stuff, and you know, and we were talking about this earlier, you know. When I sometimes I tell people I like the Bee Gees and they laugh, and I'm always thinking this, I'm not saying this to be ironic or funny. I love the Bee Gees. Their early stuff is phenomenal, like psychedelic folk rock, which definitely influenced the Paisley underground scene. And even Saturday Night Fever, you can't deny like the power of those songs and how part of pop culture and their psyche they've become. Just fantastic stuff, and I love the early Beach Boys. In Odessa, their sound expanded a lot. It kind of split up the band. Robin Gibb quit after it, and then they recorded an album without him, and then they continued back with him. But there's some amazing tracks on Odessa. Robert summed it up perfectly with the different meanderings they did in lots of different styles. And I love that record. I was really happy you brought that one. Jonathan.
Yeah, this is the first time I actually listened to this album. I never really got into the Bee Gees for obvious reasons, Saturday Night Fever, all that.
See.
So I was really blown away by this. I love the production. It had a really nice, lush 60s psychedelic sound to it. It was amazing. Solid.
Right on,
Cool.
right on. Jesse?
I've never listened to Odessa. I do have the best of,
Yeah.
and I don't think I was ever confused by the disco thing. I know Brett actually did a cover of Holiday.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2000.
2005? Yeah,
well,
you're right.
Was it 2004?
Yeah, it was a long
Then,
time.
and
Is that
I
on the
really
demos?
looked into
Many
it.
a moon ago.
One day me and Brett were out, and
Many
I bought
fortnights ago.
Bee Gees, and
Yeah.
I kind of just got into their older stuff.
I
and
told
then
Jesse. I pulled it out. I
Yeah.
said, "You're buying this."
Brett taught me well.
Yeah.
On the Bee Gees.
But you're right. I did do a cover of Holiday.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Brent, what'd you think of Odessa?
Yeah, I made everyone be quiet for I think track 4.
Thank you.
Because I really wanted to listen to it because I do like this record. So yeah.
Yeah,
It was
great.
good.
Excellent choice, Robert.
Enjoyed.
James. Man of many words.
So I chose I gotta move my seating. I chose
Comfortable.
Prince.
You're comfortable over there.
What?
You're
Yeah.
really comfortable.
I chose Prince's Around the World in a Day. Basically, I went to Wikipedia. I saw that he was influenced by the Paisley Underground. He named his studio Paisley Park. He's got a song on here called Paisley Park, and
And,
he also has a little red Corvette.
he signed the 3 O'Clock to his label,
Yeah,
right?
he signed
Correctly.
it.
And he wrote a song for the Bangles, and the Bangles are one of the most popular bands of the Paisley Underground era.
And I also love Prince.
Is that a sealed copy you got there?
This is a sealed copy. We tried to somewhat open it, and then I decided against it because it still had a sticker here and a sticker there. So we used Jonathan's copy instead.
Yeah. Can't believe you paid $200 for that.
Well, it wasn't too.
Yeah.
With shipping, it came to $203.
Yeah. He
Wait,
had it
did you really pay $200 for that?
I paid $203.
203. He had it shipped
But I
from
also
Nigeria.
I also
Oh,
paid $600
man.
to see him live in concert.
Uh,
So
It wasn't a nice price.
no,
Bob.
it wasn't.
I dig Prince. So I have that album. I was happy to see James brought that because James was a little resistant to the Paisley Underground theme at first, but he did his research and he found something like, I mean, that you can't get more James than a Prince record. So he tied into the theme nicely, and I think that's what this music club does in these themes is it breaks you out of maybe some things that you wouldn't necessarily bring, but it forces you to bring something that you wouldn't have brought. So it's cool. Great choice. Jonathan.
Killer record. Enjoyed it a lot.
There we go. Dream Pop.
I've never listened to it before, but I mean, I did enjoy it. It was kind of new for me, so
Okay.
interesting.
Brent.
Prince is Prince.
And
Yep.
Fresh Prince. Cool. Robert, what'd you
Excellent.
think?
I also looked at the Wikipedia page on the Paisley Underground, and it said something interesting about the album. It said that Prince had never made an album. He had never made an album like this prior to Around the World in a Day, and then he never really revisited that sound afterwards. So it was kind of a one in a time experimentation with a more psychedelic direction.
Do you think he succeeded on that?
Well,
does it
it's-
come off that way to you though?
No, I think
No, it's still
also-
Prince. You
Yeah.
know, it's out there, but it doesn't really have that much of a Paisley Underground
Yeah,
sound.
the cover. I mean,
Yeah.
visually.
I think in his mind he was doing the Paisley
Yeah.
Underground, but it's Prince and it has all the typical
Yeah.
Prince sexual obsessions
And the
that
slow
kind of thing.
ballad, the ladies'
and the
ballad.
slow jam. You know,
Ladies'
it's just, there's one per album that only Prince likes.
No, he's got a couple, man.
So
And
yeah.
the ladies definitely like it.
Yeah.
Temptation is
But it's
good.
got Raspberry Beret on it. It's got Pop Life. I mean, these are some great
It's
songs.
it's
Yeah.
definitely a good album. I think it's up to me now. So, I brought an album. I've talked about this before. I brought Opal, Happy Nightmare Baby. Now, those that aren't familiar with the band Opal, formed by David Roback. He was in a band called The Rain Parade, which was another Paisley Underground band with his brother Steven. He left that band, started a band called Clay Allison, which then evolved with Kendra Smith, who was the bass player in another Paisley Underground band called the Dream Syndicate. And then that evolved into the band Opal. Opal released one album on SST Records while they were touring in Europe. Kendra Smith left the band, was replaced by Hope Sandoval, and then Opal then eventually evolved into Mazzy Star. So this is, like I said, is their one and only release, and the lineup on here minus Kendra Smith, with the addition of Hope Sandoval, is the lineup to Mazzy Star. So, Jonathan, what did you think of Opal?
This was my favorite album from the Paisley Underground direction that we're going tonight with. I really dug that a lot. Was there? There's a couple tracks on there that has like a swirling organ.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm quite. I love that, and it had that sound that I love from psychedelic music, and it had a lot of that on there. So, and it was really good. I was surprised it was from the '80s.
Yeah, it's a very
really good.
dark. It's a lot darker than a lot of what's kind of seen as the more indicative, I think, of the Paisley Underground with the jangly guitars. It's definitely a darker vibe to it. Jesse.
I like it. I liked Hope's voice on there. It's kind of.
She wasn't singing.
Yeah, she wasn't
No,
singing on there.
but I mean, like,
Kendra.
sorry, Kendra. The vocals were kind of like low and kind of smoky sounding.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, for sure. Brent.
Yeah, when we were listening to this, James actually said that, I think it was James said that her voice reminded the way she was singing of Hope's voice.
Yeah, the
Which is
phrasing and
probably-
the inflections is probably why
Yeah.
Jesse said
Yeah,
that too.
right.
well, no, you
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
Hope, and then I repeated it.
Yeah, so that's probably what. But
Yeah.
that's a great record.
Yeah.
Recommend it if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Get it.
Definitely
You can find
a
it.
hidden gem. Robert.
Yeah, to me, this really kicked the evening into a higher gear. I had never heard Opal before. It was a mixture of sounds that I've never heard put together quite in that way. I think Brett said when he was talking about this and presenting it to us that there's a bit of a T-Rex influence, which was kind of surprising. And then I also noticed the organ part, and it reminded me of like Saucer Full of Secrets
Pink
era
Floyd.
Pink Floyd,
Mhm.
yeah.
Interesting.
So I mean, just a really assured record, and you wish that they had stayed together, and made more albums. But then maybe it's good that they didn't, because you have this one almost perfect
Mm,
snapshot here. So yeah, it was great.
excellent. James.
I liked it a lot.
Nice. All right, so let's move on to our colored vinyl record. So we just wanted to bring something that was not only on a cool color, but it was also a solid record. So let's start it off, Jonathan over there.
So I brought a record for a band I've been pretty obsessed with the last year and a half. A band from Sweden called Goat. The album is called World Music, and the album title is appropriate for the type of music that they perform, because it's a bunch of different types of like genres. You got like Thai go-go music in there. You got you have like a Middle Eastern sound going on, and they mix it up with like funk and even disco, and it's just kind of like the whole sound put together is just like a bunch of influences of really good music, and so yeah, it's on blue vinyl as well. I dig this sound a lot.
Jesse, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. It's pretty interesting the way the sounds are all kind of put together.
All right, Brent.
It reminded me of psychedelic Japanese soul slow jams a lot.
Yeah,
especially
agree.
I think track 2
Only maybe
Track 2.5.
and a quarter.
Robert.
Hands down, this was my favorite record of the evening. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going with it. So
He's mad you don't like Prince more. Keep going.
yeah, I swear. I mean, every minute of this, there was some kind of new sound that I wasn't expecting, and it reminds me in terms of the shock of that. It's kind of like if you go all the way back to the Del Shannon song "Runaway," where that organ comes in that you're not expecting, or even like the church under the Milky Way where the bagpipes come in.
solo.
Like there was sounds jumping into every song that I just didn't see coming, and so I am now a hardcore fan of this band as of tonight.
Right on, right on. James, what'd you think of Goat?
I liked it. Changed my life.
Sweet.
Wow, cool.
Seriously, everyone needs to hear
Awesome.
this record. It's amazing.
It was fun watching Robert react to this album because he got out of his seat and he was standing over there, and I saw him get really excited about it. But from track to track, it was like a whole, as if it was a compilation of various artists because the sounds changed so drastically. Like one of the pieces I think was almost like a Spanish classical guitar type piece, and then it had all this cool percussion in it. It was all over the road, but it all seemed to actually flow and work together. And it was another one that I was surprised that it was so recent and that they only had one album because it sounds so mature and so, I think, advanced for a first album. And it's got a cool die-cut cover too if you pull out that inner sleeve on there. So it's a cool release. I'm definitely going to seek this one out because I really dug it. Jonathan, great choice. Jesse, what was your colored vinyl?
My colored vinyl was Pink Playground, kind of shoegaze noise pop.
Hella noise.
It's got a pale pink vinyl.
It's got some little pinkish, little feathery wisps of cotton candy in there.
You might want to show that back cover too.
Yeah.
The back cover's got kind of interesting, not typical to something I would listen to, but pretty cool. It's kind of interesting back cover, but Pink Playground.
You can see that cover. Anyone out there watches our channel. You would have known that was Dream Pop Jesse's record choice. And we just said, who brought this one tonight? That has Dream Pop written all over it. You know what I'm talking about, malaria. So, Brent, what did you think of that?
Yeah, it was good. I was surprised it didn't come with some glitter.
Glitter or leaf. Yeah, glitter.
Or a wedding chapel.
Yeah, let me check. Robert, Pink Playground.
I really like this one. It's I actually heard it sounded like the influence of early Cocteau Twins on some of it, but with a darker edge to it.
It's interesting.
Really liked it.
James.
I liked it. Changed my life for the second time. But then it started to get kind of a little bit monotonous. But besides that, I'm going to go and try to find it, and I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to love it some more.
It was interesting how when it started, I was a little confused by the production of it because I was a hard time feeling a pulse to it because of, I think it has a lot of high end to it, so it immediately made me think of like My Bloody Valentine's Loveless, where the music's kind of almost floating, detached from any type of like rhythmic center. So I think I was having a little hard time wrapping my ears around it immediately, but then I started to kind of warm up to it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good choice. The cover art, everything as a great visual representation. I think that's really represents the music well. Yeah.
Every instrument's like drenched in effects. Just
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, like Cocteau Twins was great. I didn't even think about that, but now that you say that and I think about it, I think that was a great reference. Jonathan, what'd you think of Pink Playground?
That was really chill. It reminded me kind of like the Twin Peaks
Uh,
intro music.
Interesting.
With a little bit, a lot more noise to it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really dreamy. It's cool.
Interesting.
All right, so we're up to Brent, right?
Oh yeah. E-pop. James Williamson, Kill City. 1977, Bump Records. Green vinyl. Pink label.
Sweet.
Rad.
Greenie, Greedo. Robert.
It struck me as just good, solid songs. It was, I'd never heard this before. I'd never even heard of this project, so I'd like to know a little bit more about the history behind it. It's not quite on the level of, say, like Lust for Life, but
It's more hard rock sounding.
more, yeah, kind of more bar band type stuff. But then you got like saxophones too coming in there.
Bar band. I definitely see that. James, what'd you think of Kill City?
I don't really have anything good to say.
Okay. I've heard this album before, not on vinyl, so and I've been actually trying to find this on vinyl. It's an interesting release because number one, the saxophones. There was times where I was just yelling live from Saturday Night because it sounded like the Saturday Night Live band with saxophones. And then the one song, I think on Kill City, it sounds like "Lick It Up." It sounded like Kiss, and I was like, this is just records all over the place. But then it gets. I think about halfway through the first side, it started hitting like almost like a like a Iggy Pop groove on that one. It's a cool record. It's not the Stooges. It's not what he did on the European sound of like The Idiot. It's somewhere between the Stooges and Lust for Life with some weird saxophones in it.
I think it legitimately sounds like Detroit rock and roll. Like straight up Detroit rock and roll.
Yeah.
More than anything. You hear like a lot of those Detroit bands, there's nothing special, it's just straight up
The White
rock and roll.
Stripes.
Yeah.
Are the White Stripes from Detroit?
Not the same era.
I know.
A little bit different.
Jonathan, what did you think of Kill City?
Yeah, I dug it. There's, definitely what Brent was saying. It does have that hard rock sound.
Yeah.
Some of the songs remind me of Alice Cooper, which is like I didn't expect because it's Iggy Pop, But then it's like they have the saxophone solos remind me of Iggy Pop and the Stooges. They have, some of their songs they have saxophone
The
solos.
sax
in there.
solos though on the Stooges, like let's say on like, what's the album the second Stooges record, Funhouse. It's a lot more kind of like avant-garde sax,
Yeah.
like almost like really weird out there sax. This was
is
like
structured.
This was like straight up, like like a Saturday Night Live band saxes. So it had a different edge to it. But you're right about the Stooges sax.
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. What was that guy's name again?
Fat Gadget?
On the beach. Why am I blanking out? All oiled up. I was like, I can't think of the song.
Saturday Night
I
on
still
the Beach.
believe.
I still believe. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what it was like. Seriously, and then everyone's headbanging like they're listening to Slayer. Yeah. So it was. Good. I'm glad Brent brought that up. That was a good one. Are we up to Robert, right? Color vinyl.
Yeah, so I brought an album by a band called the Ronald Ray Gun from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. This was a very limited release of just 100 pressings, and this was number 9 out of the 100. And it's very
Let me hold that one up a
beautiful,
little
yeah.
closer here.
Kind of a subtle, it's gray and it's got all these different colors kind of emerging from it. But these guys are really interesting. One of the guys in the band also runs a company that makes custom-made guitar pedals, and which are featured prominently on the album. And it's called Dwarf Craft Productions, I believe, is the company. But they describe on their Bandcamp page the sound is something between death metal and DJ Shadow. I just thought that was an interesting juxtaposition of things.
Your copy's number 9 of 100.
Number
right?
9 of
Yeah.
100. Exactly.
James, what did you think of this one? The Ronald Reagan.
I liked it.
Yeah, cool. So when this first started, it started off like on the right channel. There was like these little glitchy noises, so I thought it was gonna maybe be like a a pseudo like Radiohead King of Limbs, or not okay, yeah, what
Kid A.
Kid A
Right.
sounds, and then all of a sudden this like beat kicks in, interesting grooves, like really doomy, sludgy, almost like music that's maybe a little too extreme, and then all of a sudden these like really like heavily processed like vocal chant screams, like, you know, five guys saying this is Spartacus or whatever it was on that one. And it was just interesting. It was really slow in tempo, and then they put these cool dropouts where, you know, it was like, and then the music kicks back in. It was cool. You know, that's the cool thing about this is, you know, you get to listen to these things that you normally wouldn't have heard. So this was definitely a good pick for tonight. Jonathan.
I dug it. There's a song, as I said, Spartacus, and it just has this kind of like, it reminds me of like, it just sounds like, you know, a hardcore song, but it's like slowed down, and it even has a breakdown in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's cool. And then we're doing one track that had like a jungle beat going on. Is that the album? Yeah. Yeah, it's just all over the place. It's cool. Jesse, what'd you think of that one?
I really enjoyed this one. This one actually reminded me a lot of some of the Jade Tree albums, which were later on to come on to be like one of the guitar players left Denali and started playing guitar with Sparta, and it kind of had a little bit of that sound, but it on its own it didn't replicate Spartacus. It just had that tone. And I really enjoyed the cover. It's totally silkscreen.
Yeah, it's a really cool art. Yeah, let me hold that up a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be hand silk screen. And I said to Jesse, I can't believe you haven't looked at this cover yet, because this is another thing that's so Dream Pop Jesse is that little whale symbol right there. Just total DPJ. Okay, did everyone? Brent, you didn't talk about that
No,
one.
actually, when it first started out, it reminded me of just a '90s band, kind of like late '90s. And then as it went on, definitely, the whole time I was thinking it just sounds just like Sparta. So, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, cool. James, you up with the colored vinyl?
On the 15th.
If you don't mind,
What do you mean?
to show it.
I'm gonna show it. I started talking.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Man, a few words. So on the 15th, the new Afghan Wigs album is going to be coming out, so everybody should go and run and buy it. But I've pre-ordered it. I was hoping to get it, but it's not going to arrive until Monday. And so instead, I brought Twilight Singers, which is Greg Dooley. But do you pronounce it Dooley or Dully?
Dooley.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought it was, but I thought somebody else
You've been
pronounced it
pronouncing it
differently.
Dully all these years?
No, I've been
Okay, just
pronouncing it
checking. Just
Dooley.
checking to see if you're keeping it real.
But I was checking to see if anybody else was calling it something different.
Keep it real.
But anyways, so this was his second album with the Twilight Singers. It's just white. Nothing really extremely special.
No,
but
it's on.
the album is super special, and I love it.
Yeah, that's a good choice by James. I enjoyed the record. I really enjoyed the piano.
Yeah, you know,
Little piano flourishes on one track. It's cool. Good choice. Jonathan.
It was pretty good. I never heard of this band before, and I quite enjoyed the record. It was nice.
Are you familiar with Afghan Wigs? Do you have any
No,
other stuff?
I
You think you'll check out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Dream Pop.
First time hearing it on vinyl, it's definitely a record that I enjoy. So, Greg Dooley has such a unique voice, and like the instrumentation, like the piano, which you had noted.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like kitschy kind of drum sequences in there mixed with acoustic drums, and that's something that really kind of sucks me in. That's something that would be definitely right in my wheelhouse. So.
Brent.
Actually, I didn't really listen to it that well. I don't even remember what it sounds like. It was kind of forgettable. Sorry.
It's because I did
Robert.
like his Iggy Pop.
I don't really care.
I'm a pretty big Greg Dooley fan. This is actually not my favorite Twilight Singers album.
Which is your favorite?
I actually like the first one, and then I also like Powder Burns quite a bit.
Yeah, Powder Burns was alright.
To me, this one drags a little bit, but having said that, hearing it on vinyl opened up a lot of textures to it that I hadn't heard before, and so it's going to cause me to revisit it, hopefully on vinyl.
Yeah.
It's all about Teenage Wristband.
Cool.
Which is the
Well
song.
said. Well said,
Song.
James. Well said.
Oh, it's such a good song.
So I brought Lycia's Cold. If you guys watch my channel, you have seen me talk about this before. Mike and Tara were label mates. My band Audra was on the same label as Lycia for several years, and we've done shows together. And I actually did an interview with Mike from Lycia on my channel. So I'll probably post a link down below so you can read about this more. But they've released several albums since 1991. This was their first one to actually be issued on vinyl. This was their 1996 album. This is Cold. And we actually, when they were touring for this album, was when we first played with them and met them back in 96 or 97. It's a gatefold 2-record set, and let me show you the vinyl on this one because it is really pretty cool. Yes, it almost looks like blood there in the middle. Hopefully you can catch a good glimpse of that there. But yeah, Lycia Cold. Jonathan.
Yeah, I dug it. There a couple of tracks on there on the first side remind me of the Cure's Disintegration record.
Huh.
Had the same kind of sounding kind of soundscapes as on that was pretty prevalent on the Disintegration record. Yeah.
Nice.
I dug it.
Jesse.
I would say the soundscapes, but it kind of reminded me somewhat of kind of an earlier Cure. I don't know, was it Faith that was mentioned when we were listening to it?
I think you mentioned Faith when you saw the cover.
The cover,
Yeah.
But it definitely had kind of an older.
And this cover was actually the original cover, I believe, that was because when it was first issued on CD, it had a different cover because I think this artwork was rejected, and then this one they end up restoring the original artwork for the vinyl release, which is I think it's a pretty nice, really nice cover actually.
Didn't the original artwork have like green or something?
It was
in
red. It was red. Yeah. Brent.
Yeah, I really like this record actually. It was a good atmospheric record.
Yeah,
really
really.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think overall the whole night we were all. I mean,
It was all over the place. It was great.
We touched on lots of different areas, and so it was So I was happy to bring that one. Robert.
Yeah, this one really surprised me. When we first started playing it, it seemed at first to be kind of a generic goth sort of thing, and by the end of it, I was a fan. Like just the different textures and things that came out really, really impressed me. I'd never heard of them before, so
Nice.
excited to explore that.
Nice. James.
I'm already a fan of them, or I was. I still am. I mean, it's in my heart. So Brett and I were actually talking about it, and I used to actually put on this album to go to sleep when I was between the ages of 16 through 18 or so, with a little bit of typo negative, and
The James
He was
Dark
saying-
Ages.
yeah, yeah.
TM.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was nice to hear it again. Brought back memories and made me wish for the impossible things. So
Indeed.
Wow.
Very poignant.
I just want to go for a ride.
Yeah. So, I think that wraps it up, guys. All right.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. Like I said, we had a great time tonight. Everyone brought great choices. We'll be back next month in May. And if you guys have any throw out a theme idea or two. If you think of a theme that you'd like to see us explore, let us know in the comments. And I'm going to put links down for everyone's YouTube channel that has videos. And you guys subscribe. And Jonathan, who has a channel who hasn't posted a video, leave him some encouragement to actually film a video.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
got a great knowledge of music. He's got a great collection. We got to first visit his place tonight and see his collection and go through it. And it was definitely good times, great host. So we'll be back in a month, guys. Thanks for watching.
There.
But